told me that in the 70s. He said, you have amazing brinksmanship. You know, you go to a certain place.
You go to the brink.
You know when to pull back.
Iggy Pop is a musician, singer, songwriter, record producer, and actor from the United States. He was the singer and songwriter for the renowned proto-punk band The Stooges, who started in 1967 and have split and reformed many times since. He was dubbed the godfather of punk. In their first iteration, the Stooges played a rough, primal type of rock and roll and earned a reputation for their confrontational concerts, which frequently included acts of self-mutilation by Pop. Beginning with the Stooges' album Raw Power in 1973, he maintained a lengthy, creative, and personal relationship with David Bowie throughout his career. Iggy is a multi-talented individual. He is truly enamored with life and will dive headfirst into anything that comes his way. He's done voice work, performed in episodes of several TV shows, and cooperated musically with a number of artists, including Slash, formerly of Guns N' Roses. Iggy is also the executive producer of a 4-part documentary series about punk's history. Interviews with Debbie Harry of Blondie, Wayne Kramer of MC5, Jello Biafra of the Dead Kennedys, and John Lydon of the Sex Pistols are featured in the documentary Punk.
A shift. And I think it was with his help that I was able to keep going.
If you enjoy these videos, please remember to hit the like button, as it does help us out a lot. And comment below who your favorite celebrity is that you'd love to see in an upcoming video. His full name is James Newell Osterberg Jr., but is known as Iggy Pop. He was born March 21, 1947, in Muskegon, Michigan, making him 74 at the time of this production. He stands at 5 feet 6 inches tall, or 168 centimeters. Iggy Pop loves to write. His thoughts on the relevance of Edward Gibbon's decline and fall of the Roman Empire to the contemporary world were published in a brief essay, Caesar Lives, in the Classics Ireland magazine in 1995, Volume 2, 1995. Pop also talks about how reading Gibbon while on tour in the South inspired him to write Caesar. Iggy Pop has an outstanding and expensive collection of jackets. The leopard head jacket worn by Iggy Pop on the back cover of 1973's Raw Power has to be one of the most stunning and memorable pieces of rock and roll attire. In 1971, John Dove and Molly White created this jacket, which was featured in L'Homme Vogue. There were just 5 of them ever produced. Iggy went out and bought one. Iggy Pop is married 3 times in his life. Wendy Weisberg was his first wife, although their marriage barely lasted a few weeks before being dissolved. He married Suchi Asano for the second time in 1984, and the pair divorced 15 years later. He married Nina Alou, his current wife, in 2008. Iggy has a son with Paulette Benson from a previous relationship.
So, you know, who took what or who did what is not as important as was everyone useful and fulfilled.
He was born to Luella and James Newell Osterberg Sr., a former high school English teacher and baseball coach at Fordson High School. On his father's side, he's of English, German, and Irish ancestry, and on his mother's side, he's of Danish and Norwegian origin. His father was adopted by Osterberg, a Swedish-American nurse, raised in a trailer park in the small town of Ypsilanti. James has a strong relationship with his parents. He credits their support and guidance for helping him find his passion for music. They even moved out of their own bedroom in the family's trailer so that his drum kit could fit in the home. Iggy began to truly hone his affinity for the drums in junior high school, and in 1963 he created a 2-man band called the Iguanas with a guitarist named Jim McLaughlin. When the 2 Jims arrived at Ann Arbor High School, they enlisted the help of a saxophonist and recorded a demo at McLaughlin's father's studio. The addition of a bassist and guitarist completed their sound, and they quickly established themselves as a local favorite, performing at dances and gatherings. Ann Arbor High also saw the emergence of Osterberg's stage persona, a flamboyant alter ego named Hyacinth, based on a poem he'd written. The Iguanas recorded a second demo in 1964, and things really started going. At the United Sound recording studio in early 1965, they recorded 3 more songs, including Osterberg's first original tune, Again and Again. The band was regularly used as an opener for major acts such as the Four Tops. Osterberg was gaining a reputation as a blues drummer, so he left the Iguanas in 1966 to join the Prime Movers. Despite the fact that the band never recorded, owing to their refusal to renounce blues in favor of rock and roll, they were major players in the local music scene and even traveled to the West Coast to perform. Jim was dubbed Iguana by the other members of the band, who later changed his name to Iggy. Iggy became motivated to push the limits of live performances after being inspired by Jim Morrison's stage antics. The Stooges released their debut album, The Stooges, after signing a record contract with Elektra Records. They followed up with Funhouse, but both albums failed to chart. Years later, Funhouse was praised by critics. Iggy Pop had a severe heroin addiction at this time. The Stooges were unable to get a new record contract, and in 1973 they issued Raw Power, their last album. Pop struggled with his addiction for many years after the group split before resuming his career. Iggy began touring with David Bowie after establishing a strong friendship with him. Bowie and Pop continued to collaborate on a variety of projects over the following several years. Iggy continues to produce solo albums and work with a variety of musicians. He continued to conduct live gigs in the early 2000s. The Stooges reunited and began performing together again about this time, much to the delight of their longtime fans. In 2007, they released The Weirdness, followed by Ready to Die in 2013. In 2016, Iggy Pop released his solo studio album, Post-Pop Depression. His 18th studio album, Post-Pop Depression, was a huge hit, receiving favorable reviews from critics and fans all over the world. Rolling Stone, Mojo, and AllMusic all gave it 4 stars, while Gig Soup gave it 4.5 stars. It reached number 17 on the Billboard 200 and charted in a number of other countries. He continues to make music to this day, and in 2020 he published Dirty Little Virus, a song about the COVID-19 pandemic.
Because it was built for millions of people. There were only 700,000 living there. You had guys who had obviously graduated Eton.
Iggy Pop is one of the successful celebrities. He earns around $4 million, mostly from being a successful punk singer. His net worth is $20 million. Iggy had a lot of real estate deals in 2018, according to reports. First, he lost money on a Palmetto Bay house he sold. The 3-bedroom house, which was located in a Miami neighborhood, sold for $235,000 less than what he paid in 2006. The estate has a tennis court, a swimming pool, a waterfall, a wine cellar, a library, and even an aviary on more than an acre of property. In 2006, Iggy paid $1.46 million for the house, which he ultimately sold for $1.225 million in 2018. In 2018, the singer also gave his wife, Nina Alou, the title to his Coconut Grove house. He first bought the house in 2016, 8 years after marrying his wife. The Florida home is valued at about $4 million, and he transferred the title from his trust to her personally, making her the only owner. He paid $4.1 million for the 5,252 square foot home in Coconut Grove in 2016. 5 bedrooms, a library, black limestone flooring, a pool, and its own canal are all included. The cars you'll find in Iggy's garage include a 1956 Chevy Nomad, (1992) Ford Bronco, (2009) Rolls-Royce Phantom Drophead, (1984) Ferrari 308 GTS, (1966) Jeepster Commando, (1980) Rolls-Royce Cornish Convertible, and a Lincoln Continental. A Range Rover.